Hey, Quench crew. If you ever wondered how we settled on Panama and Mexico for our countries of choice to pursue permanent residency, then this is the video for you. We're going to go through, in no particular order, 9 topics that were part of our decision making of how we landed on Panama and Mexico. And number 7 might surprise you, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Lynn.
Hi, I'm Jace.
And welcome to our channel,
GenX
GenX
Quench.
And we're talking all things pre-retirement. And today we're talking about the choice of Mexico and Panama as our destinations for permanent residency. If you've been following us for any length of time, you know that we secured our permanent residency for Mexico last year, and we're in the process of seeking temporary residency in Panama on the way to permanent residency in Panama. And this is going to give you some insight into how we made that decision. But before we jump into it, we appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like, share, and do us a huge favor right now. Hit that subscribe button. It's very important. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without your help. So just take a second and hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. So on to the video, Mexico and Panama residencies. Why those countries over all the other countries in the world? Jace?
Well, first, we wanted to think about time zone and proximity to the U.S. For Lynn, she's a consultant. She has her own consulting business, and all of her clients right now are U.S. based. So it would be very convenient to have a place where we actually reside very close to the U.S. So Panama and Mexico both hit those criteria. So that was a real positive in terms of a pro for those two countries.
Yeah, time zone was important because we know that our family, any business that we might do, we're right now on Eastern time zone. We have family in Central time zone. And, from the standpoint of Mexico, we wanted to kind of mirror the U.S. from the standpoint of going from Pacific to Eastern and staying in that time zone, as opposed to being on the other side of the world where everything that we need is, 8 hours ahead, 12 hours ahead, or 8 hours behind and 12 hours behind. Right. So the time zone just was a consideration for just how we work and how we may potentially work and just communicate in the future. Tied to that is the proximity to the U.S. So we wanted someplace where it wasn't going to be difficult. It would be easy, and from the standpoint of the time to get back. So we wanted places that had easy flights into those hub cities in America like Atlanta, Miami, Houston, so that, from door to door, if we're leaving the U.S. and heading to Panama, it's no more than 5-6 hours, maybe, a connecting flight to one of those places, but that the proximity to the U.S. was important to us, that we could get back to the U.S. or to the other country within 12 hours from a standpoint of a day part, so that we could leave in the morning and we still could get to our destination by afternoon.
Right. Next, we wanted to look at countries that had good infrastructure. And by infrastructure, like paved roads, good internet speeds, public transportation, things like that. Those were very important to us. Like, we can use our Uber app there, those sorts of things. So just getting around, we may not have a car, so all of that infrastructure is important. Electricity, like we don't want any rolling blackouts. So those were all important criteria.
Strong grid.
Strong power grid. Yes.
Right, and exactly. And piggybacking off of that one, number 4 would be self-sufficiency. And so we wanted countries that could stand on their own from the standpoint of having their own manufacturing, the agricultural system where they grow their own crops, a place that was, somewhat maybe land surrounded, had borders with other land, so that transportation, so goods could come in and out of the country easily. And basically, this really was a direct kind of counter to Caribbean nations. A lot of people consider, wanting to retire and get residency in paradise, but you have to kind of consider that thing that if something happens, where are goods coming from? Or does everything have to be ferried in, boat in, flew in, that type of thing? And so we wanted places that had some level of self-sufficiency, that if something major happened, the whole city, the whole country and the city wouldn't just shut down.
Yeah, worst case scenario, we could always get back to.
Right.
To the U.S., even all the way from Panama. You could do a car ride through Costa Rica and up through Mexico and get back home if we needed to.
Exactly.
So the next one, we being former residents of the state of Florida for 19 years, we've dodged hurricanes in the past. So we wanted to avoid places kind of in that hurricane belt. So the Caribbean, like Lynn talked about, that's a great segue. We wanted to avoid hurricanes. We've done that for 19 years. I'm a Florida native, so I've
Yep.
even done it longer than that. But there was one summer, I think we dodged like 3 hurricanes in like a month, and it was horrible. We were driving all over the state trying to dodge hurricanes. So we definitely wanted to find a place out of hurricane belt. Now, no country is total natural disaster resistant. We
Right.
know that Panama as well as Mexico on the Ring of Fire, so there could be earthquakes, but even if they have one, decent hospital system. Again, they grow their own food and stuff, so if there was an emergency, you still can eat and things like that. So that was an important criteria.
Right. Someplace where if a natural disaster happened, it wouldn't be catastrophic or devastating for days, weeks, months, years to rebuild on end. So that was important in our decision making. And then, the next item is the residency process itself. So we looked at several countries and the residency process, and we wanted someplace that was straightforward, that didn't require a lot of cash outlay, that there were options for a path to permanent residency within 3-4 years, and that the process didn't have to be difficult. There was support, facilitators, immigration attorneys that were accessible, that were reasonably priced. And a big part of that was looking for countries that did not require time in country. So
Right.
at the state that we're in right now, we are preparing for our future. We don't know what that future timeline is, but we knew that we didn't want something that required X days of the year to be spent in that country to keep that residency. So for the standpoint of Mexico, that path, the traditional path is 4 years if you're going from temporary to permanent. Panama has several other options that could take several years, but both of those countries also have options that if you meet the requirements, you can get the residency from jump. But the other thing about that residency process is we kept our eye on it. We looked back, and we know that those requirements were changing
Right.
every year. And so time was kind of the essence that Panama and Mexico back then in the last few years and still currently today are residencies that definitely are within reach for most people.
Yep.
That are in this pre-retirement age or even retirement age.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Next, this one's gonna surprise you because
Yes.
people always think, oh, you looked at Mexico and Panama because they're a cheaper cost of living. That really didn't really come into play or our consideration. Yes, we appreciate that you can live more cheaply, but both are countries too. If you want to ball out and live at a high level, you can certainly do that as well.
Right.
But there are options. You can kind of live as expensive as you want, or to a certain level below the standard that we're currently living at in the USA. So, in terms of monthly expense outlay. So.
Right. So cost of living did not factor in our decision as much as you would think it did, because we just have this. We knew that we were looking at cities, and we just have the feeling that you can live at whatever standard pretty much in most of these places. So cost of living, while we didn't want to go someplace that was exorbitant, we weren't really doing that. And I think it actually is probably going to come into play when we really make a decision on the city, the suburbs, and that type of thing, as far as a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, we both know that we're either city people or suburbanites. So living out in the rural somewhere is not very appealing, even though that's the more inexpensive kind of location. That's not how we want to live. We don't want a car, and so we want a place with public transportation. So
Right. We're looking for community.
Right.
We want to be near hospitals and that type of thing. So we know that we're going to be looking for someplace, and we're going to land someplace that's probably city. Now, we might visit someplace rural for a while and that type of thing,
Right.
but really from the standpoint of the landing place, it's going to be a city. And that leads to the next thing that was part of our criteria was familiarity and comfort. We both have visited Mexico and Panama before on vacation. And, when you vacation, you look around and you're like, oh, I kind of like this place. I wouldn't mind coming back. So there was a certain level of comfort in seeking out residency in a country that we had already visited. We haven't been to Southeast Asia. We haven't been to countries in Africa. So we don't have that comfort. So seeking out residency for a place that we hadn't visited would have been, starting that process, going and visiting. And so we already had just the comfort level In Panama, there's the US dollar. In Mexico, our phone plans work. There are stores in both of those countries that we're familiar with here in the US. So for us in exploring this as first time residency seekers, the soft landing was important and factored into our decision.
Yep. And then lastly, the big consideration we also had was language.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the United States, we hear a fair amount of Spanish. Lynn took Spanish, I think 9 years. Now, I took French in high school, college, but I started learning Spanish in 2012. So I took like a year or two and still dabble in it. Lynn can read it much better than me, and I can speak it probably a little bit better than her.
Right.
So between the both of us,
Yeah.
we can get around. We know enough to be dangerous. So from a familiarity, comfort standpoint, if we were going to have to learn another language, Spanish was the one
Right.
we were familiar with.
Yeah, we did prioritize Spanish-speaking countries. If we were looking at places that where English wasn't the primary language, if we were going someplace where another language was spoken, yeah, we gave extra nudge and points to places that had Spanish-speaking people. So that was part of the reason. So, Quench Crew, that's how we ended up with Panama and Mexico. Lots of other countries to choose from, and definitely lots of other countries we want to visit.
Right.
But for the pursuing the residency path, that's how we ended up there. So, as always, sound off in the comments. Was there something on the list that we missed that we didn't address that is a concern for you? Let us know. And if you're looking at residency in another country, please let us know in the comments why and what's your process and where you are in the process. We'd love to know.
Yeah, and if you have any other topics you want us to cover in future videos, let us know that as well, because we got this specific question like twice in the last few weeks. So we're like, hey, let's do a video on it.
Right. Yes. Lots of people asking, how did we land here? That's how we did. So definitely, if there's something else that you would like us to go deeper on, let us know in the comments as well. And as always, we appreciate you. We thank you for being part of the Quench crew. Don't forget to hit that like button. If something resonated with you or you know somebody that could appreciate this information, please share this video with them. And then finally, we definitely ask for you to hit that subscribe button and really be an official part of the Quench crew and help us get to 3,000 subscribers. It's in view, and we hope to get it real soon. So with that, anything else?
That is it.
All right. Quench
Adios.
crew, we'll see you on the next GenX Quench video. So long. Adios. Bye-bye.